The Beat of the Bronx, a Yankee podcast with Russ Lichty. Today's episode is brought to you by Your Bronx Dentist. Come meet Dr. Ebby and his team at two convenient locations in the Norwood and Throgs Neck sections of the Bronx. Schedule your next appointment at yourbronxdentist.com. And now, here's Russ.
Episode 29, emergency podcast. The Yankees are spiraling here. Oh my goodness. 5 straight losses, the last 3 being in shutout fashion. Yankees shut out in the last 3 ball games here. Pretty bad showing, and I've been keeping track of it here. One for 26 with runners in scoring position, and they've had the ghost runner, and just how bad they are in extra innings with the ghost runner. It's just that's a different story. But Yankees last 29 innings, 1 for 26 with runners in scoring position, 24 left on base. Offense can't get anything going. Booney had a different look lineup today. Jason Dominguez batted leadoff for the second time this year. Didn't make a difference. They just little things where you see the Angels playing small ball, bunting, moving guys over a few times, getting the guys over. It was a 4-0 win today. I mean, hey, we've been watching the ball games here. I mean, starting on Sunday, Max Fried was doing his thing. Rafael Devers gets traded, his last home run after the ball game, after we were swept up in Boston, letting Boston get right, and then on Father's Day weekend and on Father's Day, an hour after the game, Rafael Devers is traded with the shocker to the San Francisco Giants, and you see him today with all his different quotes of how he sounds like he's beaten to a different drum now in San Francisco. But good for Rafael Devers, good for us because the Yankees don't have to deal with him anymore as a Boston Red Sox. But before I got off on the little tangent here, everyone knows the news now, but Rafael Devers being traded, irrelevant news to the Yankees in this time of turmoil. Because that's basically what it is. I mean, I don't care. It's June 17th, and we've come now to a two game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays, and that comfortable American League East lead has definitely went away now at the wayside. But Yankees, as we said, the last 3 games here have been shutouts. Offense can't get nothing going. But Max Fried Sunday night. The last home run, and dare I say it was in the 5th inning, that Rafael Devers hit it, and that was the last one he hit, against us as a Red Sox. But I'm pointing that out because that game here that's kind of when this all started here. Aaron Judge had a horrible, atrocious series. Basically, he was 1 for 12, 9 strikeouts. He had the home run off Garrett Crochet that Friday night, but it wound up not really, meaning anything. Yankees, 3 straight games, coming back to fundamentals, and I say back to the 5th inning because we were reverting back to last year with the way they would, forgetting, where to line up for cutoffs, like as we talked about on this, on this podcast and on my page before. We've talked about, the lack of fundamentals, and when you go to excuse me, let me just shut this off. The air conditioning. Shut the air conditioner off. It gets kind of loud, but the playing, certain guys playing out of position, not being able to get tags down, running themselves out of the inning. And Anthony Volpe did it on in the extra innings, stealing third, and it was defended. I mean, whatever the argument is, it shouldn't happen. Never should happen. Jason Dominguez forgets how many outs there are. And Ben Rice, it was early in the game, but it still happened. And it was, three consecutive games, three of the same mistake from a series where the disaster started, all from that home run in the fifth inning. So, and just ironically of it all, and when, if you want to call it this June swoon, um, ironically now is that since this started, it was stemmed from what I say, that Rafael Devers home run, and it was even before that they struggled in the series against Kansas City. The last game against Kansas City was a 1-0 win, but the pitching has not gotten any run support. Max Fried had a great game. Clark Schmidt pitched wonderful yesterday into the eighth inning, and Will Warren today. I mean, he had the rough. It was the rough third inning there, where it was a couple of singles added up. They got some runs, but he really settled down. He had 11 strikeouts today, and made a quality start out of it. And you can hear when it was nice to hear Garrett Cole in the booth, and you can hear that he's definitely a fan of Will Warren's. And how can you not be? The stuff was filthy. I mean, at one point when I was struggling in the game, I said, when he was struggling in the game, right before the few runs that he gave up in that third inning, I was saying to my wife, saying maybe is it that crazy? You see Will Warren stuff, maybe kind of reminds you of it reminds me, I should say, of a Mason Miller light type of pitcher, but then he really settled down and those thoughts go away, and you see how he's spinning that sweeper and the fastball is really clicking. He was wonderful tonight, but no one was 29 innings scoreless. I mean, guys just getting left on base, and then it's just the errors and the not doing things, winning things, and then you see the Angels playing small ball and getting run over. That's Ron Washington playing baseball the way it's supposed to be played. But it is disheartening. You hear after the game, there's really no sense of urgency from the Yankees. I mean, I know it's June 17th here. Um, right now it's a little after 10:23, a little after the bowl game, and then I usually listen and listen to the post game, so I didn't hear anything that any of them said tonight. I didn't even want to hear what they had to say. I was like, we didn't record last week. Get on here, talk to you guys. Could have recorded a video, but haven't done a podcast in a while. So emergency podcast. But what can the Yankees do to fix this mess? Because it can really, it starts to snowball now, because it's down at that point where you can't use the excuse that it's early in the season, because it's not really, too much early in the season anymore. We're starting, to get worried about, all-star break here, trade deadline will be here before we know it. But man, the Yankees, the offense can't get out of their own way right now. It's just, in the pitching, it's one thing if you're hitting like this and the pitching's getting roughed up, that the pitching's been masterful. And then the bullpen comes in, the bullpen gets the job done these last three games. I mean, it's just it's very, very, very disheartening. And what you see a little bit of a different mix in the lineup. Jason Dominguez up at the top again. Like we said, really didn't help anything. But it made me think of in the winter time when we went to that event, the American Dream Mall, the Hall of Fame signing event. As some of you may seen, some of you may know, we met Aaron Boone and Oswaldo Cabrera that weekend, and I remember talking to Booney. Now, Jason Dominguez was at that event. We did see him. He was a couple stations down, and before we got started with Booney, I said to him, "Hey, what are you feeding that kid?" He goes, "He's a specimen, isn't he?" And it was great conversation, that we had, me and Booney. And the main thing I asked him at that time was who was going to be lead off. Um, it was way before the experiment of Austin Wells batting leadoff. This was, about a week or so, I would say, before even, pitches and catches were reporting. But long story short, we were talking to Booney, and I recommended that Cody Bellinger bat leadoff. So hey, now I'll say Cody Bellinger should, at this point, why not? Let Belly bat lead off. You did it with Dominguez, just changes things up a little bit. Yankees haven't scored a run in 29 innings, and Booney did like the idea, but as in his fashion, doesn't play anything. But it was a great conversation. He was great with Emma, but he talked about Jason Dominguez leading off, and he said he could be in the mix, and eventually they, from what we learned throughout time of listening to all different things with the organization, eventually they wanted Dominguez to, blossom into the leadoff hitter. They tried it last year with Volpe and kind of didn't work out. But eventually, kind of basically from what we had in the conversation, what we said, um, you know, maybe it would be nice if Belly leads off tomorrow. Um, at this point, wouldn't hurt. I'll say it's my recommendation, whatever. But anything, something they need to can even do like Billy Martin once did, pull it out of a hat. Yes, he actually did that. But really, I mean, really, really bad. It's just been really, really bad baseball, and I just want to say offensively, but on the base paths, it's been the Boston series was rough. On defense, at some point, it's like, what are they doing? Not getting the ball in quick enough. Like we said, not being in the right spot for cutoffs, not getting the tag down, literally running yourself out of the inning. Can say definitely not scoring, not doing anything, not moving the runner over. You see them, lately, recently, they'll be, the steals have been on, but there haven't been nothing, nothing coming out of it. Big G, Giancarlo is back. Yesterday did everything he could, to keep the Yankees in the game with his two hits, the big double. Today he had the hit. He's been looking good hitting, but the lone bright spot is Giancarlo coming back, but hasn't really made a difference. But just to just to get into a couple of the news and notes, if you want to say, we found out this week, relief pitcher Jake Cousins, who was shut down from his rehab assignments, going to need Tommy John surgery. Unfortunate for Jake Cousins, so get well soon, Jake. Had a great, big part of the great run the Yankees, in the bullpen had last year, getting in, playoff run, getting to the World Series. But Jake Cousins going to need Tommy John surgery. We saw today JT Brubaker is back, with the team. Wasn't activated, but they said he had a locker. Was working out, up here and had a bullpen session, I believe it said. And we'll probably find out, if not soon, what's going to happen with his status, because it's he doesn't have any options left, and obviously they put this much time and what seems a lot of time now into the rehab process of JT Brubaker. So what's it going to be? And if you heard recent recent episodes of mine of what we think is going to happen, or what we kind of think of JT Brubaker. For anyone who's not really familiar with him, what he reminds me of the most is when we first got Luke Weaver, before Luke became morphed into this elite relief pitcher that he is now. So take that for what you want. That's what I think. Of what the Yankees believe, and what I believe, that is the full potential of what JT Brubaker kind of is. Kind of what it kind of reminds you of, but we'll see. And obviously the Yankees feel the same way. There's something in there that they kept they kept him in the system. fully worked his way back, and had different injuries. This was from Tommy John injury, and then now different injury, his oblique injury that he had suffered in spring training, and they spent a lot of time into it. So we also found out, we'll find out probably within the next few days or so exactly what's going to happen. Because, like we said, he has no options left. So it's either you know they would have to get rid of him. It would be like a DFA. He would go if he's hurt, still hurt, not ready to go, and back on another IL stint, or he has to be activated. Most likely, he's going to have to be activated. But we'll see in the next few days. We learned about Luis Heel will start throwing lives in about 10 days or so, and that's an update we got a few days ago. So it's nice to see Luis Heel moving in the right direction now. The timeline for him, realistically, still looking around. I would say that July timeline, and I've been saying keep an eye out for that July 4th Subway Series weekend, maybe around that time, just like Garrett last year. But what what a past few 5 games, past turn of events, with the Red Sox. It's been a while since we've spoke here in podcast form. If you don't keep up with everything on my page, but you should, keep up with the NY Yankee Dad on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Very, very active on there, especially the Instagram stories, um, and stuff like that. We have a good time on. Well, we try to have a good time, but when the Yankees aren't playing good, and they're playing like this, it's definitely not a good time for anybody. But what's most concerning to me is just from what you just hear of how it doesn't. It seems like the majority of the fan base. It just seems like they're more concerned than the guys on the field. Now, I'm not saying as much as we loved them, as much as I love them. Not everyone doesn't have to be Paul O'Neill, and start breaking up the dugout and acting irrational, as Paulie used to do, and throwing the water cooler and going after the umpire a lot, which Booney does. But you get my drift here. And if you don't know about Paul O'Neill, what he used to, how he used to play, look it up. Very, very, hard nosed player who definitely wore his heart on the sleeve, and not Xing all the guys to be like that. And it's a different time back then, different type of game. But you can see that they're concerned. It's not no one's happy. It's 29 innings now of not scoring a run. I mean, this is great. It gets to a point where it's you're entering territory here where it's part of history that you don't want to be a part of. Now, I do want to add this. I saw this on New York Yankee Stats on X. It's this 29 game 29 inning scoreless inning streak is the longest since the 33 inning streak back in September of 2016. And there's also 48, it's also been 48 straight innings without a lead. That's the longest since a 61 inning streak in August 2023. So 48 straight innings without a lead, and just the Yankees offense just hasn't found a way to get anything going, and it just it's funny without really breaking down, looking back at everything. It kind of seems like the whole June swoon, as everyone wants to call it, started around the time Judge sat. And not saying that he had needed a day off, but it all started around that time in Kansas City. And here we are now, losing the series to the Angels. Now look at the Angels. I mean, they swept the Dodgers. And now, taking 2 out of 3 from the Yankees on the verge of maybe sweeping Yankee Stadium. That's good for the Angels over there. I mean, Ron Washington has them in contention here. I mean, they're in contention. It's going to be just wait. It's only June 17th now. Just wait with that extra wild card this year. I mean, it's going to get really really interesting once we get close to the end of this month here into July, August down the stretch. I mean, we got a way to go towards down the stretch, but extra wild card for each American League and National League is going to make things very, very interesting, especially when you have teams like the Yankees like this now. 29 innings scoreless in a row. So it definitely makes things interesting. And last weekend there was, I want to say, 9 sweeps throughout the league. It was either seven or nine, if I remember correctly. But I know one of them was the Tampa Bay Rays sweeping the New York Mets in Citi Field, and also not only the Yankees getting swept by the Red Sox up in Fenway. Blue Jays, who've been hot, they were swept. So it was just there was a lot of sweeps around the weekend, and it was just we talk about making things interesting here, and just wait, just wait. Things are gonna get real interesting, and everyone's talking about the trade deadline. It's all still really early for speculation now. Devers traded away, different situation. We'll never really know the full of it, but as we just say, if you want to read about it, go read about it. That's their business. We got our own problems here with the Yankees, and it's just the guys playing out of position. It's just, but that with defense, the defensive issues, are they correlating over to the offense? But it's I don't know. You get to a point where you're watching the ball game, and you don't know. It's really it's mind-boggling. But I guess we'll just leave it at that. Ryan Yarbrough versus Jack Kahanowitz tomorrow, who pitched good against us when we were out in LA. So the young sinker baller. So at this point, to be completely honest, and it doesn't. I don't even think it matters who's going up on the mound. Really, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter. I mean, not to take anything away from Jose Soriano yesterday, but he pitched a hell of a ball game and dominated. Really, I mean, even back in Fenway. I mean, we talk about we even made some joke videos about it. Hunter Dobbins, a few times we've seen him this year, shut the Yankees down. And you know what? Tip your cap to him. Really, tip your cap to him. I mean, there comes a time where it's put up or shut up, and the Yankees not putting up nothing. Zilch. It's been goose eggs for the past 3 ball games here. There's nothing to really say about it. I mean, it's when they make mistakes at this point, when they're playing this bad, they're just everything's exemplified, and it's just a shame because the pitching has been very, very good. And a start like tonight, a start like last night, a start like Sunday night with Max Fried. Those are well enough pitch ball games to garner a team that I don't know if they still average 5 runs a ball game, but as still ranked the number one offense in, I want to say, in the American League, who averages 5 runs, to not be able to salvage anything. And then you see tonight, the icing on the cake is just tonight. You see the bunts, you see them moving them over, you see the halos playing baseball, and everything's just all right. Everything's just all right. All I heard Boone say, and then I turned it off, was that's baseball, and that's all you needed to know. And it's at points like this, just to be real, Just sounds, it gets to a point where it just sounds like, the fan base, guys, girls, everyone like us. Um, we're just, it seems like, it comes to a point where we're the ones who care more. I know that's not the case, but it can't just keep being the same blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow the sun's going to come out, different lineup, different tune, turn the page, this, that. Every baseball cliche in the book that sounds good. Um, After a while, it's just, how much more of it do you want to hear? The game tonight, 4-0 loss. You heard at the very end of the ball game, you heard a very light, there was booze, but the weather wasn't, that great, but you still hear, who would want to stay for this, that kind of debacle. But just, it's just real shame that pitching performances here are going to waste. But at this point, tonight you weren't even looking for. You knew a four run comeback wasn't coming. It's like maybe they'll at least be able to scrounge a run across, and you had Jazz on second. Just wasn't. Who he's been one of those who's been hitting. I'll get on him for defense every now and then, but as of late, he's been hitting decently. But tonight it was just one of those nights where all the whole offense looked bad, but that little side saddle dive that DJ LeMay did, things like, like we said, it exemplifies it. Things like that, they just look worse. And then his strikeout when Garrett Cole was in the booth, and it kind of distracted everything. Distracted away. It was a horrendous, horrid at bat where he basically gave the at bat away. He struck out, he flailed the swing, and I said, oh, the first thing I think of is he gets bailed out by Garrett being in the booth. No one really went into it and said everything, but it just, he's been hitting as of late since he's been back. It's just been the last few games here, but everything just looks worse. Everything gets exemplified when they're losing like this. But we'll take a quote from Bunia that we've used before. Is just Yankees got to turn the page tomorrow. Just try not to get swept here, but just to say, the Angels, you can see really, really playing tough here. Zach Neto just finds a way to get on base. Mike Trout relegated to DH duty here. Nolan Chanwell knows how to get on base. You see Logan O'Hoppe starting to come alive here. Luis Rengifo as well. Now, if the Angels keep playing like this here, you can cross them off the list of teams who you think would be sellers. One to pluck guys away from there, but still got time for that. Yankees really just need to worry about getting a run across here. And again, we'll say recommendation for tomorrow at this point, but Cody Bellinger should bat lead off maybe tomorrow, at earliest tomorrow, because at this point we're approaching 30 innings here. Maybe tomorrow's first inning mark they'll be able to break out of it, but Belly should bat lead off tomorrow. But I'm feeling first inning tomorrow, some way, shape, or form they break out of it. Hopefully, or maybe I'm just warped and just telling myself that. But we'll find out. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Try to enjoy the rest of your night with this. Don't let the Yankees ruin the rest of your night. That's what we'll say at that. But God bless. Have a good one, and as always, go Yankees. I'll talk to you guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Beat of the Bronx, a Yankee podcast. You can follow Russ on all social media platforms using the handle at NYYankeeDad. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.